Shalom Akim, Kahalayim La Yahaba Shem Yahushua Hashem Rahakudash, and double honors to great and apostles and the elder bishops of Great Millstone. Thadia Shah for the strength and all to make this video. The Arasazoi, you find this video edifying and exhorting. Edifying meaning to build up, exhorting meaning to encourage. So Yaratazoi, this will be a quick video, because this is really, something that's been going on, but sometimes it be put in the background and it's put into the foreground and it's put in the background. Read from like Boko Haram, days, over there with Southern tribe dwelling over there in Nigeria, man. So I just wanted to make a quick video on it, just to show that, Jake's still under the curses. Nevertheless, though, just to bring the balance, we're still coming out of it. The tables are turning because, Edomites are feeling that. But nevertheless, though, I'm just focusing on Jake for this video. So as it says here on the right, Nigeria's Easter weekend bloodbath. Christians slaughtered. I remember, I think it was a few weeks ago, when Apostle Tara said, if Christians were all just slaughtered, it would make his day. And quite literally, this is happening, man. Because nevertheless, they're under delusion. They're under a spell, which Esau Edom with all his false philosophies. He's made Jake drunk off of this false belief, and it's a very, very deep deception. So anyways, this is by CBN, which I believe it means Christian Broadcasting Network, something like that, but I know it's a Christian channel, so-called Christian channel, which we know true Christians, which again the Hebrew word is Hamashiachim, the followers of Yahushua. Those are the real Christians, which are supposed to be fundamentally Israelites, by the way. And really, those who serve Yahushua, man. Anyways, let me get to this video and I'm going to bring out some precepts. Shouldn't be too long.
While Christians around the world were celebrating Easter, Fulani gunmen struck again in Nigeria. This time, the attacks happened on Easter weekend, right as believers were marking the resurrection. The attackers stormed into St. Ignatius Catholic Church in Mbalum, Benue State, just as people were getting ready for Easter Sunday services. After that, they turned on the villagers, burning homes, chasing people down. 17 lives were lost in all the chaos. Here with more is Judd Saul. He's founder of Equipping the Persecuted. He's also a documentary filmmaker and missionary who just returned from Nigeria. Judd, thanks for being with us. So tell us more about this Easter weekend slaughter of Christians. What happened and why?
So really, what people fail to understand is that this is a judgment from Yahweh Shem Yahushua. Imagine Jake over there thinking that, doing the righteous work, helping the pastor, the priest, over there in the church, saying, I'm doing something for the church. Don't know why that accent came out, but anyways, I'm not trying to do a Nigerian accent either. But yeah, nevertheless, they think that they're doing the righteous work, helping out in the church. But the thing is, which really, again, I know I made a video on this some time ago, probably last year or early this year, something like that. Where's Jake on Jake, man? Jake with the belief of Islam versus Jake with the belief of Christianity. It's a war of beliefs right now. Of course, you can mix some Hamites in there or something, but nevertheless, Jake is subscribed to that philosophy over there in Nigeria, man. So of course, this bloodbath is really judgment, especially considering this bullshit that they be celebrating, man. Which Easter goes back to Ishtar as well, idol worship, so do your research there, man. Pagan heathenistic customs, so this says Nigeria's Easter weekend bloodbath, man. So again, it's the judgment of Yahweh Shem Yahushua that has happened here. But of course, again, the wicked don't understand judgment. If I'm gonna get that, I'll get it now, then I'll continue with this video. Alright, this is Proverbs 28 and verse 5. Evil men understand not judgment, but they that seek the Lord Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushai, understand all things. Hence why we've been blessed with wisdom, we've been blessed with knowledge. In order to utilize and apply it to ourselves, in order to appease Yahweh Shem Yahshai. And really for our own sake as well. We gotta obtain the knowledge that we've been blessed with and use it very well. So again, evil men understand not judgment, but they that seek the Lord Yahweh, because LORD stands for Yahweh, but we say about Hashem Yahweh Shai, as a constant reminder that Yahweh Shai is through Yahweh Shai. That's how we get the grace and the mercy of Yahweh. So they that seek the Lord Yahweh understand all things. So, evil men, this also consists of Jake as well. Because, they don't know that they're practicing evil, because if it goes against the will of Yahweh Hashem Yahshai, it is an evil. That's the thing. Sin as well. It says in the scriptures, sin is the transgression of the law. Try to get that one quickly. Alright, so this is 1 John chapter 3 and verse 4. Whosoever committeth sin transgresseth also the law, for sin is the transgression of the law. You see, so again, that can be likened as evil. And Jake is all the way in that evil, man. All the way in that evil. Let's get this one as well. Is it this one? Hold on. Nah, it's probably the reverse, ain't it? To be fair, this is a good one as well. This was a good one. So Jeremiah 10 and 2, thus saith the Lord Yahweh, learn not the way of the heathen, which Jake has learned the way of the heathen, following after their religions and false ways. And be not dismayed at the signs of heaven, for the heathen are dismayed at them. The key part, the key phrase, learn not the way of the heathen. Jake got to wash their minds from those customs, which again, that's why 2/3, which are the wicked Israelites over there in America, aka Babylon, they got to get cleaned and reset. And the only way for them to get cleaned is for their physical bodies to be deleted and then be reborn under the loins or through the loins of the elect. Alright, let's get back to the video.
Happened and why?
3 weeks ago, I warned the Nigerian government and I warned the U.S. government that the Fulani ethnic militia, which is an Islamist group that is hell-bent on turning Nigeria into their own caliphate, were massing up and gathering for multiple attacks on Easter, including the one you just mentioned. And that wasn't the only attack that happened. There was attacks in Kaduna, there was attacks in Jos in Plateau State, and there was attacks even on the border in Nasarawa State. Multiple attacks this weekend. We estimate that over 60 people have been killed this weekend alone, and the count is on the rise, and several Christians have been kidnapped. And what's going on is a systematic genocide and terror being perpetrated on Christians by radical Islamists.
Well, people complained that government troops stood by and were slow to intervene in this latest incident on Easter. When they did, they arrested Christians who came from a nearby village to help. Tell us more about the incident.
Well, that's what happens is 99.9% of the time the Nigerian government is reactionary, but what happens is to stop the violence and to make peace happen, they go after the victims instead of the perpetrators. So when the victims get mad and they want justice, they go after the victims and not the perpetrators. They let the Fulani ethnic militia run right by army checkpoints and posts fully armed with AK-47s to go on to the attacks without any intervention. But when Christians say we've had enough and they rise up and they start saying we're going to defend ourselves, the Nigerian military comes in and punishes the Christians.
Well, you've worked in...
Yeah, that's how you know. Jake always talks about the corruption of the Nigerian government, man. Especially if you're from there. Or rather, you're in those communities of which talk about that, man. They always talk about the so-called African corruption, or the corruption specifically of the Nigerian government, man, of their presidents and whatnot. So really, not really too surprised about this really, because it's like, okay, the guy's gonna break it down. Of course, these groups are being funded and given weapons. So of course, if they're funding these groups, most likely the government's gonna have their hand inside of it. Hence why the Christians of him are trying to defend themselves. They can't do it. They're trying to provoke the Christians. But of course, them ones that subscribe to Islam, the Fulani, as we say in Nigeria, the Fulani, that's how you say it, or the Fulani over here in the UK, would they're free to do what they want really. But anyways, let's continue.
Nigeria for many years, so why has the persecution of Christians gotten worse? You say it's genocide, is it?
It's total genocide.
It's also you can see it as a sign of Jacob's trouble increasing as well. Because remember, Jacob's trouble, it's also really focusing on the judgment of Jake. So things are ramping up. This is also a sign of these of scriptures, man. Jeremiah 13:7.
Does every penny matter?
So okay, I misclicked.
There's 99.9% of the time, the Nigerian government is reactionary, get mad, and they want justice. They go after the victims and not the perpetrators. They let the Fulani ethnic militia run right by army checkpoints and posts fully armed with AK-47s to go onto the attacks without any intervention. But when Christians say we've had enough and they rise up and they start saying we're going to defend ourselves, the Nigerian military comes in and punishes the Christians.
Well, you've worked in Nigeria for many years, so why has the persecution of Christians gotten worse? You say it's genocide, is it?
It's total genocide, and it's government complicity. We have been issuing, through our organization, equippingthepersecuted.org, we've been issuing terror alerts for the last 2 years with 93% accuracy. We've issued over 150 of them. And in virtually all cases where we've issued terror alerts, the Nigerian government did nothing, the attacks happened, and then the Nigerian government intervened after the attacks happened and ended up punishing Christians. We've seen very few terrorists ever brought to justice.
Well, we of course know about Boko Haram, but what don't people understand about what's going on with the Fulani? Some say these attacks aren't religious, they're tribal, so what do you tell them?
If they really believe that, I don't know what to say. They've fallen for a complete lie, because I've been working in Nigeria since 2011. And the Fulani will tell you to your face that they want to get rid of Christianity. The Fulani ethnic militia, the extremists in the Fulani. There's some good Fulani, there's Christian Fulani. But the ones that are running around with AK-47s are hell-bent on eradicating Christianity and turning Nigeria into their own caliphate. They say this with their own words. Now, when they tell you these things, they tell you what they want to do, how they want to accomplish it. You should probably take them seriously instead of denying it.
Well, where are they getting their money to buy AK-47s? Most of these herdsmen are not wealthy people. It costs a lot of money to own an AK-47 and other weapons. Who's supporting them?
Funding is coming in from the Middle East. It's coming in from countries like Saudi Arabia, from Turkey. The other way that they're also funding their war is through kidnapping and extortion of Christians. See, what happens is no one talks about the kidnapping. They go and they'll kidnap 100 people at a time from one village. And these poor Christians have to sell their land, sell everything they own just to get their people back. And then they take that money in turn, buy weapons to continue doing the terror. So it's self-funded through extortion and kidnapping, but they're also getting outside financing.
Judd, the government acts like it's not a problem, yet the attacks are continuing. So what should be done at this point?
They all gotta face the east and pray to Yahweh Shem Yahshua. That's what they gotta do. But anyways, as people say, it's easier said than done. Easier said than done. Which of course is the Most High's way. That's how it's gonna play out, man. Which you already know that through the scriptures. Anyway, let me get some precepts and I'm gonna wrap it up. Alright, this is Isaiah 42 and verse 24. Who gave Jacob for a spoil? Yeah, just hold on. Alright, so I'm going to read it again. Isaiah 42 and 24. who gave Jacob for a spoil and Israel to the robbers? Did not the Lord Yahweh, he against whom we have sinned? For they would not walk in his ways, neither were they obedient unto his law. Hence why the Most High, he did a surprise attack for Jacob over there to punish the Christians of them lot, in Nigeria, man. Which, to be fair, even them ones that subscribe to Islam, they already have their portion that's going to be put on them anyways. They have their judgment awaiting them too, man. But all over the world, Most High's got a timer for these vessels, these Israelite vessels that walk upon the earth right now. So again, it's all orchestrated, as this scripture supports, by Yahweh Shem Yahushua, man. Again, and let me read in the NLT as well. Isaiah 42:24 says, who, which is on the right side right here, who allowed Israel to be robbed and hurt? That's a rhetorical question, which means it's self-explanatory in terms of the answer. The Most High did. It was the Lord Yahweh, against whom we sinned, for the people would not walk in his path, nor would they obey his law. Hence why they got the result, the consequence of disobedience. Let's get this one. So Deuteronomy 28 and verse 54, so that, which is one of the curses, by the way, Deuteronomy 28 and verse 54, so that the man that is tender among you and very delicate, his eyes shall be evil toward his brother, and towards the wife of his bosom, and towards the remnant of his children, which he shall leave. So of course, that's happening because it's Jake on Jake crime that's going on over there in Nigeria. Let's get this one. Hosea 4:6. My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge, because thou hast rejected knowledge. I will also reject thee. Because if they knew about them, so if Jake really knew about themselves, man, the history, the scriptures, their power, most especially, which is Yahweh, Yahweh and Yahweh, then there wouldn't be all this crime and Jake on Drake killings, man. So it says, my people are destroyed for lack of knowledge, because thou hast rejected knowledge. I will also reject thee, that thou shalt be no priest to me. Seeing thou hast forgotten the law of thy power, I will also forget thy children. Hence why they're going through shit right now. Alright, let's see. Get this one, then I'm gonna close it out, man. So 2 Chronicles 7:14. If my people which are called by my name, you gotta know the names and you gotta innately believe in it. Yahweh Bahashem Yahushua. Yahweh meaning he is, he exists, or he is to be. Yahweh Shai meaning he saves or he delivers. Simple as that. Alright, so yeah, 2 Chronicles 7:14. If my people which are called by my name shall humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then will I hear from heaven and will forgive their sin and will heal their land. Simple. Now, of course, I say simple, but we gotta go through the procedure first before we get the outcome that we desire, man. Which is, of course, having that peace in Yahushua's kingdom and not having to be under the authority of the heathen, especially Esau Edom. We're gonna be the ones on top. They're gonna be the ones on the bottom, as the natural order of things ought to be, through the spirit of Yahweh Shem Yahushua. So anyways, the artists are found it edifying and exalting. Yahweh Shem Yahushua Barakatah, Shalom, and double honors to the great apostles and the elder bishops of Great Millstone. Shalom, Shalom.